Heather Lawless is known for her pro-love, pro-life approach. She's also the author of a pretty amazing new book. It is called We Do Talk About It: Breaking the Silence on Shame, Sex, and Redemption. Heather, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
I'm loving the fact that we're going to get right into some topics that we don't normally talk about in the church. But first of all, starting off, your story is pretty amazing. I mean, it almost ended before it even got started. Your mom, I understand, was encouraged to abort you. Is that right?
She had a kidney transplant the day after she graduated from high school, and the doctors told her after that transplant, you should never do two things. You should never go into the medical field, and you should never have children. And so she went to nursing school, and she ended up getting pregnant. And when she got pregnant, her physicians and her family all encouraged her to have an abortion because the doctors told her that carrying me would kill her, and
Wow.
would result in my life being ended also. So there was an abortion appointment scheduled to take my life, and on the way there, my mom got out of the car and didn't go to the appointment, and she chose life for me.
Praise God. And here you are today, a pro-life advocate yourself. But your life, I mean, even after that start, you've gone through some pretty painful experiences in life. I mean, at one point in your life, you were sexually assaulted twice in one night. What can you tell us about that?
It was Memorial Day weekend, the summer or the end of my junior year of high school. And I wanted to go camping for the first time, go camping with my friends. And my mom said, against my better judgment, I'm going to let you go. And when we were up in the woods, we drank way too much. And somehow I ended up at the campsite alone. And a man entered the campsite and asking me to show him where all the alcohol was. And so I did. I took him into the woods, and the next thing I remembered was waking up in the woods, and I had been sexually assaulted. And I made my way back to our campsite. And about 15 minutes later, his friend came walking into the campsite, and I was still there alone. And he also asked me where the alcohol was. And I was so inebriated, I took him back into the woods to show him where the alcohol was. And again, I woke up about 30 minutes later, and he had also sexually assaulted me. Um, and then later that night, the my partner, the boyfriend that I had, also took advantage of me that night. And so that was the night that I felt like everything was taken from me, and my view on who I was and what I was worth um, totally changed.
Wow. I can only imagine, Heather, when you eventually became a Christian, you started going to church, but when you would bring up the fact that you were raped in church settings, what would happen?
Well, I think that anytime a woman brings up anything that's uncomfortable that has to do with sex, the church kind of, puts its hand up and says that's uncomfortable. And that's what would happen if the first person that I told that happened to me, their response was, well, that's what you get for drinking so much. And that was a female mentor in the church. And that was her response to me telling her that I had been raped
Mm.
3 times in one night. And I think that the more I continued to talk about it, the more I saw that people's response was, "This is uncomfortable. It's too much. I don't want to talk about it." And that continued to be the response whenever I felt like I needed to share about my story. It was uncomfortable and it was too much, and so people tended to just tell me to stop talking about it.
Wow. Heather, what do most people not understand about the issues of sexual abuse, women, abortion, anything that's related to sex? What do people just don't get when we when you're trying to convey what happened or surrounding abortion? I mean, issues like abortion and rape and what do people don't understand?
I think that the main thing that especially the church doesn't understand is that it all comes down, all of it, a sexual sin and abortion, all of it is rooted in our identity. And so I think that what the church doesn't understand is that it all comes down to our worth and our value. And if we're listening to the wrong people, or we're looking at what we've done, or we're looking at the toxic purity culture of the 90s that said, if you have sex, you're impure. uh, I think that we need to remember that purity has nothing to do with our bodies. Purity is a posture of our heart. And so when someone's telling you about something that's happened to them or something that they've done, if they're talking about changing or talking about repentance or talking about real fruit in their life that's
Mhm.
coming, change, then we have to acknowledge that. And I think the church has to be willing to have hard conversations and hear hard things and know that it's all rooted in worth and value. Girls don't go out and make toxic decisions and destructive decisions because they just feel like it. It's
Yeah.
rooted in the fact that they don't have worth and value. They don't see their own worth and value.
Wow, that is a very good point. And something that you say is that shame, not politics, is the greatest enemy of a woman's healing. Explain what you mean by that.
Yeah, shame keeps us in destructive cycles. It keeps us in a prison. It keeps us choosing the same thing over and over again. And, it's when you make a decision that's wrong, and instead of listening to conviction that says you should probably make a different choice next time, we listen to shame that says you're a piece of trash and you can never do any better. And then we go, okay, well, and that's what happened to me is that I listened to shame. And so I continued to be wrapped up in destructive choices. And it's, that's the way that the enemy destroys who God made us to be is with shame.
That's so true. So, so true. How can the church talk about the issue of sex without losing grace and truth?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I when I was talking about the toxic purity culture of the 90s. I remember in youth group one night, and I had already chosen to have sex at this point. I was almost 16, and the youth pastor had a white rose, and he passed the white rose around the room and had everyone touch it and smell it. And by the time it got back to him, it was just a stick. And he
Wow.
said, this is you before you have sex, and this is you after you have sex. And when it was holding the stick. And I remember thinking, well, so I'm a stick. Like no one wants me
Wow.
now. I'm not pretty. I don't smell good. I'm not this beautiful rose. I'm a stick. And I remember that night wanting to scream and say, really? That's all I am because I chose to have sex one time. I'm not worth anything. And I think that the conversation has to be around the heart of the decision, not
Mhm.
just the decision. If you're talking to your kids about sex, you're talking to your daughter about sex, and she tells you that she's chosen to have sex with her boyfriend, you have to ask her why. Why did you choose that? Well, did she feel pressure? Did she do it because all her
Yeah.
friends were doing it? It can't
And you
just
don't
be
hear those conversations.
no, no.
Yeah.
And we have to be willing to have those conversations to know that your kids can come to you, or your
Mhm.
congregation can come to you, or your youth can come to you and say, I did this, or I'm thinking about doing this. And that
Mhm.
your response is going to be grace, not that of, well, how could you even think about that? They have to
Yes.
feel safe being able to talk about those things. And then we have to tell them why, and not because, well, because you're impure, but
Yeah.
because I care about your heart. I care
Mhm.
about the posture of your heart. And if you're making these decisions, so if the posture of our heart is correct, our body and our actions will follow.
Absolutely, absolutely. Can you talk a little bit about, just switching gears for a moment, about some of the rarely discussed stories behind the abortion pill and some of the experiences that women have had?
Yeah, I think that the abortion pill has become, especially since Roe versus Wade was overturned, the abortion pill has become the quick fix. And we hear, the other side, saying it's the missed period pill. And, you know, but we're seeing women that are choosing to take the abortion pill way past the legal FDA recommended time period, women who are 16 weeks pregnant, and they're choosing to take the abortion pill at their home. And so all of a sudden their bathroom becomes the abortion clinic, and they themselves become their own abortionists. And so a woman is in her bathroom by herself trying to deliver a 16-week baby in her toilet. And that's just the cold hard truth about the abortion pill. And we have women that call us all the time here at the ministry that I run, Reliance Ministries, and uh, they go to the Planned Parenthood about 30 minutes away, and they get the abortion pill, and they have complications. They experience clotting or excessive bleeding, and they call the Planned Parenthood, and the Planned Parenthood will not see them for follow-up. So they call us, and we see them after they've had excruciating pain and bleeding that lasts for weeks, and we provide the follow-up for them. And so women are being deceived about the magic effects of the abortion pill, when in fact the abortion pill causes way more harm than women realize. And I think that our society just thinks of it as a quick fix, but so many women are being harmed from the effects of the abortion pill, not just because it kills their unborn child, but because it hurts their bodies and their hearts and their minds also.
Absolutely, absolutely. Why is not talking about sexual brokenness hurting both men and women?
Because the silence kills us. We are a church and a body of believers that sits in these sanitized sanctuaries, and we hold on to our silence like it's a shield or like it's a prize. And the more honest we are about what we've walked through and about what we've done, the more people will come to Christ, the more
Mm,
crowded heaven will be. Because if you sit on your chair like a high and mighty church lady, people just think that you have it all together and that your life is perfect. But if you share with them that you've struggled, and maybe you haven't struggled like I have, or maybe you haven't been sexually assaulted, or maybe you haven't, but there's been something in your life that you've struggled with. Uh, Silence is what kills us. Silence is what kills relationships. Silence is what kills so many things. And what revives relationship is talking and communication. And so when we step out of that silence and step out of being that sanitized, clean, pretty little bow package, and we just
yeah.
get really messy, that's
Mm,
when real healing and transformation starts.
I love it. Healing can take place when we begin to open up, because there's so many women in the church who've been raped, who've been abused, who've
Yeah.
had all kinds of things happen. So I think this is a very timely message that we need to open up so that people can get healed. How did God finally bring about healing and restoration in your own life?
I uh, I finally had to stop because I was raised in the church. I was raised in a Christian home. I was the girl that could quote all the scripture and sing all the songs and do all the motions. But I
Yeah.
was also the girl that was making out with boys in the janitor's closet at the church. I my actions and my heart didn't match up. And
Mm,
so when I finally surrendered all of my life to Christ, is when he took hold of that, and he reminded me who I was in him, and how my worth and my value wasn't dependent on what had happened to me, or how many beds I had been in, or how many partners I had had. He finally started well, he was always talking to me, but I finally was able to quiet my soul enough to listen.
mm,
And, uh, it took a lot of healing, and I'm still not all the way healed and still not all the way, whole, but I'm working on it day by day.
yeah,
And I think also realizing that I had soul ties with all those partners that I had had, and I had
mm,
to understand that that didn't make me broken. That didn't make me, there wasn't anything wrong with me,
mhm.
that I was still whole and beautiful, and that God still had a plan for my life and he could still use me.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that you're now in ministry. You kind of alluded to the fact that you help people in your ministry. Tell us about your ministry and what you do to help others.
So I founded Reliance Ministries about 9 years ago, and we have a four-part holistic model that we believe can eliminate the need for abortion. So we wanted to find out any reason why a woman would choose abortion, housing, financial, medical care, whatever that was. So we have a medical clinic. Some people might refer to it as a pregnancy center, but we call it a holistic reproductive health clinic. And we offer pregnancy tests and ultrasounds and STD testing, well woman exams, sexual assault exams, and care. We have an education center where we do classes and teach women how to be really great moms. We have a men's program where we believe that you can't teach a guy to be a dad till he knows how to be a man first. So
Wow.
we teach them how to be men of strength instead of big, strong men. And that's our Reliance Men's program. And then we have Reliance House, a place where women can live from the time they find out they're pregnant till the babies are a year old. So it's a transformational life program
Mm.
that really helps them live the most abundant life possible. And then we have Braveheart Coffee, a coffee shop where the women who live in the house can learn job skills and have job security and learn income, ways of managing their income. So we have these four pillars that we believe can eliminate all the reasons why a woman would choose abortion.
Powerful, powerful, very needed ministry today. My final question for you, Heather, your book, we do talk about it, Breaking the Silence of Shame, Sex, and Redemption. Who's it for and why?
Well, it is for everyone, but it is for the people who are afraid to talk about it because they're afraid that they're going to be shunned or they're afraid that no one wants to hear their story or no one will listen. But it's also for the people who are afraid to listen. It's for the people who are, those people that put their hands up and go, "Oh, that's too much.
Mm,
That makes me uncomfortable." It's for
mhm.
both of those people, and it's for anyone that has struggled with sexual shame or has a sexual past, and it's for anyone who works with people that struggle with that. It's for anyone who's in leadership in the church, and it's for anyone who believes in God. It's really for anyone.
Absolutely. Well, we thank you so much for penning this very important book because the church, we do need to talk about it so people don't have to suffer in silence anymore. Heather Lawless,
Absolutely.
your book is available wherever books are sold. Am I right?
It's on Amazon,
Amazon.
and yep, and you can. It's on Kindle or paperback.
Awesome. Heather Lawless, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you, Charlene.